Dear Earthmates, today we are visiting Emi Kasamatsu, not in Japan, surprise maybe, in Paraguay. And she's an author, and her family background, that's very interesting, as we will soon hear. And we have a colleague, Charles Mies from New York, and he is an engineer and writer, researcher. We have just met thanks to Emi Kasamatsu. Hello to you both. We prepared a few questions, 16 actually, in English, and dear Emi Kasamatsu prepared the answers in English, and she would rather speak Spanish, but because all these interviews have been in English, she is also kind and considerate to accept this in this simple global language. Okay, Emi Kasamatsu, you were born in a Japanese community in Paraguay, and why had some Japanese families settled there?
Well, yes, I was born in the first Japanese colony in Paraguay, which name is La Colmena, established in 1936. Due to a restriction in the colonization in Brazil, the Japanese government established in Paraguay. One of the responsible for the organization of the colony was my father, Hisakazu Kasamatsu. The number of Japanese immigration was 126 families in Paraguay at that time.
I see. Okay. Before the Second World War, and because of the tough political situation, the military situation in Japan, did some families move?
No. Well, of course, it is part of the military situation and the poorness in Japan. So the government of Paraguay especially focused to Brazil to send the Japanese immigration. But the government of Brazil said no more, only 2% of the immigration, or not only Japanese, but all over the world. So the government of Japan chose a country nearby Brazil, and then chose Paraguay.
I see. Would you kindly move the camera down a little bit?
Okay?
Yeah, like this. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And you were brought up in two languages, right? Japanese and Spanish. Do you write in two languages?
I was brought up in wishing the two cultures. My education is hybrid education and in perfect harmony. First, I have taken Japanese culture and discipline at home, attending to the Japanese school. Then I added the Paraguayan education in Spanish language. Then my family moved to the Asunciòn, the capital city, and where I attended the high school, the university, and the postgraduate courses. Mm-hmm. And I study in Asuncion letters and literature, master course of gender and development. In foreign university, applied anthropology from Ecuador, governability and leadership from Spain, and ethics and methodology investigation from United States. I was professor of the National University of Asuncion and methodology of investigation.
Very interesting. Thank you. How did your love for literature begin?
Well, as in my childhood, I have very unique imagination, no? And I used to create variety of them. When I was 8 years old, I created my first haiku. Haiku is the Japanese style poem
Yes.
helped by my mother. Then in 1972, we moved to Tokyo as my husband was posted as ambassador of Paraguay to Japan. Then I took my interest in several writers, also the art in Japan. I realized how much I was linking to its beliefs because of my Japanese ancestry. In 1978, we moved to Washington, D.C., where I found a variety of opportunities to learn about the culture. In 1986, once again in my country, I began to attend the workshop literature to the eminent professor, who is Hugo Rodriguez Alcalá from Riverside University, and began writing short stories and have published several books in the group. I dedicated myself to research the history of Japanese immigration in Paraguay, as well as to the rest of the America.
Most interesting. Who were or are some of your favorite authors?
Well, I have many favorite writers. Among the Japanese, I like to mention Yukio Mishima, Murasaki Shikibu, which is very in the 12th century. Yasunari Kawabata, he gained the Nobel Prize. Kenzura Oi is the actual actor, etc. Among the Western, I like Jose Luis Borges from Argentina, Gabriel Garcia Marquez from Colombia, Clarice Lispector from Brazil, Isabel Allende from Chile, Juan Rulfo from Mexico, and Humberto Eco. And among the Paraguayan, I have many writers. I want to mention only two, Augusto Roa Basto and René Ferrer. And I am researching many topics. So I study many the books of Edwin Reischauer, he's American, Bernardo Klisberg, he's Argentinian, and Maria Elena Ota Mishima, she's Mexican.
Some of the names you mentioned are familiar to me. I remember reading Yukio Mishima, novella about this mask, right? And Kawabata. Both authors are well known relatively in Turkey. Haruki Murakami is one of my wife Füsun's favorite novelists. Borges, one of my idols. Marquez is, of course, needless to mention. And Umberto Eco, yes. And I will try to find books in English of the Paraguayan authors you mentioned, by the way. Thank you. And do you write any time of the day, or do you prefer mornings or evenings or at night?
Well, I prefer during the daytimes until the sunset. And I used to write directly by computer, no writing.
Fine. And what do you think of book fairs?
Yeah. Book fairs is very frequent actually in Paraguay because there are many, especially in my country. I think it's very appropriate opportunity to present books, find books to reach more people, to exchange experience between authors and readers, and make new friendships through literature, and also to enhance the interest in writing, especially by women, because we have many women's writers actually, and also younger generation.
And what are some of your impressions from your visits to other countries? Maybe anecdotes or...
Well, I visited several countries, and I consider that I open minds to see, to contact other peoples It's very interesting. So I recommend all the people just travel and see other culture and, and absorb all the new knowledge about the foreign countries. You know, even the poor countries or rich countries is very important. And so I used to attend to the International Seminar of Pen Club.
Yes. Um, uh, what are some of the differences between Japanese and Paraguayan cultures?
Well, I think they are quite different expression in the culture which with Paraguay and Japan. Not many people show interest in Oriental culture, such as literature and art. On the contrary, considering to me, I try to insert to them with the local culture, including the way of living, manifestation, and even the culture and the way of living of the indigenous peoples. I am very fan of the indigenous peoples.
Great. Uh, uh, question. Uh, Now, cultures are, of course, very different from one another. For example, in English, the sun rises in the morning and it sets in the evening. Now, in Turkish, the sun is born in the morning and it sinks in the evening. And in many languages, I am eager to learn what does the sun do in the morning and then in the evening. In Spanish, what does the sun do in the morning? How do you express it in Spanish?
Spanish, amanece.
The sun
In Spanish is amanecer, is open. Open
open.
day,
Is it opening? The sun is opening?
in the day, the daytime.
Daytime. Opening. The sun opens.
Amanece. In Spanish, we call amanece, amanecer.
Okay. But the meaning is the sun opens.
New life, new life, new day.
How about in the evening? What does the sun do? Does it uh, set or does it sink or does it go away? What does it do in Spanish?
Go away.
I don't know. What happens in
We call atardecer. Go down, go
go
down.
down? Okay. Oh, okay. Makes sense. How about Japanese? What does the sun do in Japanese in the morning and in the evening?
You know, the origin is Japanese is the god of sun.
Pardon?
But the origin of Japanese people is the sun, the sun, the goddess sun. So the flag, or Japanese flag, is in the center is the sun,
Yes.
the sun. So our origin is God sun, sun. So she cut down to the earth and create Japan land. So it's very important the sun rising.
The sun rises in Japanese language. Is that so?
Principal decoration of the Emperor of Japan is sun rising decoration.
Mhm. Yes. But in the Japanese language, so the sun rises. Is that like English? How about the evening? What does the sun do in the evening in Japanese?
Where evening is the close the day, closing the day.
Closes the day.
The
The
day.
sun is, do you say so in Japanese? Is it the sun is closing the day? Is it so? Is it going?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Um, uh, hey, um, now the PEN International, the Worldwide Association of Writers, our global association. Um, how did you get in touch with PEN? How did your relationship with PEN start?
because of the two great war in Paraguay, we had our culture was not an expansion. So the Paraguayan literature is unknown in the world. So I think it's very necessary to expand the Paraguayan literature. And PEN is the center to expand the literature of the world. So I try to connect them with PEN International and make a member of the PEN Paraguay, which was in 1943 in Paraguay, and I became member 22 years ago. So I am very, very active in that center to promote Paraguayan writers and literature.
Yes. By the way, in 1983, when I was in English.
43. We have 75, 76 years old, more or less. The founding but PEN International was founded in 1921.
Okay. Yes. No, my relationship with Spanish. Deseo hablar español, pero no puedo. I studied Spanish a little bit in 1983 when I was teaching English in Aramco, Saudi Arabia, because I wanted to go to Nicaragua after the Sandinista revolution. I like Spanish. I will be able to spare some time. Now, you were president of Paraguay Pen Center for 2 terms. What were some of your activities?
Well, as president of PEN Paraguay Center, at that time we called PEN Club del Paraguay. No? I served in 2 opportunities. It was a privilege being woman and Oriental to lead an entity with well-known writers of Paraguay in order to let them know Paraguay. I have attended to PEN International Congress, first in Colombia, then in Japan, and then in Korea, and also for the Ibero-American Regional Conference held in Bogotá, Colombia, Santiago de Compostela, Spain, and Buenos Aires, Argentina. I also participated in several meetings and seminars to exchange ideas, make friends, to open the Great Vision channel through the world of literature. During my second period as president, I organized an important event for the commemoration of 75th anniversary of PEN Club del Paraguay at the National Congress, at the main salon of the National Congress, and presented an anniversary book with historical resume of 29 founders of that time, because there was very, very important writers and intellectual of Paraguay of that time was the founders of PEN Club of Paraguay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and what do you think about Paraguay as a country, as a society?
Paraguay is very friendly, very hospitality by the people. But we have so many 2 great wars, international wars, that kill more than 50% of the population, almost all men. So we were the country of women at that time. The Paraguayan woman is very strong. She's very I think they try to improve or to develop the country at that time of the difficult situation in Paraguay. So I feel just Paraguayan, Japanese Paraguayan, but I was born in Paraguay, so I feel Paraguayan. Say I am very proud of Paraguayan movement, and we are trying ever since to improve. Actually, we have many women's writers in Paraguay, actually. it's very important.
And what are the relations between Paraguay and Japan?
Well, we commemorate last year the 100th anniversary of the opening relation between Paraguay and Japan. From that time, we have optimum relation, cooperation with both countries, especially Japan helped in the development of Paraguay, contributed greatly in great scale. And also, a Japanese government received many scholarship from Paraguayan men or young men, etc., to improve. And I think people say that Japan contributes in grand scale more than other Latin American countries to Paraguay. That is why I think I usually say why we the Paraguayan are very privileged. Maybe because of the difficult times Paraguayan government received the Japanese immigrants and also protect the Japanese immigrant and enhance the Japanese immigrant and recognize all the Japanese immigrant help to Paraguay in the development, especially in the agricultural field.
Mm-hmm. Especially agriculture. Um, and what do you think about today's world?
Today's world, well, today's world very well. There are many difficulties, but they through very fast. Everything is very fast uh, changing in the world, especially for the young generation with the modern technology and the ways of thinking, the values, particularly in the mind. So I think it's necessary to conduct. Don't forget the spiritual way of living, the disciplined ways of living, and we have to look for the peace in the world. So the young generation is very complicated now. No, because they think they don't think as us like us. They are very unique, very different, and etc. But I think, especially in Paraguay, the young girls, the women, is studying very much to improve the situation of the women and to find good jobs. That is very important. Mhm.
Yes. And as a writer, what is on your agenda? What is your
Well, Joe, I first I wrote a, a small, ¿cómo se llama? Novels. But actually, I am preparing to publish two books. One of them is about the discrimination of the women through the history. And from the beginning of the history, and to seek the values, the courage of women, and to continue conquers the right of human being among the women. It is very important, interesting to research uh, the situation, not only the Paraguayan women, it's Oriental women, Asian women, African women, European women, how much they fight to conquer the right of human beings. And I think we recognize the importance of the development of the women in that field.
and this question now is one of my favorite questions, which is, what would you suggest to young Earthmates?
Well, we should put more effort in the desires and the ideal of the young generation. We tend more to the because they are more tend to the materialism seeking power and strengthening the economical aspect. So it's important to learn our time the ethics. Mm-hmm. We need to learn ethics and focus on the land, on the place of the spirituality, and which will help them to correct way of conducting our own life. Because the disciplines, because in the Japanese state, some virtues very important that transmit by generation. And this is very important how to manage our own life to improve our life and improve the other life also.
Yes. Thank you so much. And what else would you like to mention?
Okay, to whom we are writer, novelist, poet, essayists, research, journalist. It is very important way which we will communicate to the people of world about the complexity of living with so many problems to be solved by mankind. We should transmit in searching a better way of living, find the more peaceful environment, and unite our hands among the writers of the entire world to live happy and peaceful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And my dear new friend Charles Mies, what would you like to say after this brief interview? What would you like to add? Or yes.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Emi for all the work she's done in Paraguay. I'm really amazed at the number of accomplished people that came from that little Japanese colony, somewhere in the middle of the jungle. And so I'd like to thank her for what she's done. As far as the world is concerned, I hope that we can get away from extremism and that we can remember that the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Great. Thank you so much. And this is a series of interviews with Earthmates, and part of the synergic efforts to try to contribute to the formation of a higher civilization, an Earth civilization. Millions, billions of good people are actually doing good things, but yes, more bridges are necessary to increase the synergy. And although there are good local and international organizations, they are necessary but not sufficient. If we can improve our lives towards more bridges, building more bridges and making those organizations more efficient, the world can be a safer place. For example, the United Nations, the name doesn't reflect the reality, of course, as you know. It's a platform of governments, which is better than nothing. But some of those governments, most of them are despotic. So in real life, if we can really improve relations, then we can help the United Nations become really, maybe, eventually, United Nations. And there is also this Earth Civilization Network, which I try to initiate, and it's open to Earthmates who value human rights and nature rights, and try to learn from one another. And it's a friendship platform.
Yes. I like your term Earthmates because we're all brothers and sisters on this planet. We have to remember that.
Yes,
We have to get away from nationalism a little bit, I think. And
I agree. I agree. And both of you are, of course, cordially invited. We meet on the first and third Sunday of each month at 10 o'clock, your time, New York time, and Paraguay time in the morning. And on Zoom, it's about 90 minutes. I call it Earthmates Cafe. It's not an official meeting. It's a relaxed, because everybody is busy. Everybody is tired. Everybody is busy, always busy. So this cafe culture, where we learn from each other, share interesting and wonderful people from all over the world, trustworthy people. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
What else can we expect? Great. Thank you, Emi Kasamatsu, so much. And we're together. And Charles Mies, thank you so much as well. That's how I enjoy also ending a program. We are together.
For this opportunity to talk with you for other writers. And it is very interesting to communicate by online system. And this is very important thing of this period. The opportunity to talk like this way. And thank you very much. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. Muchas gracias. No, en Japanese, domo arigatou, yo say muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you. Thank you so much.